What's going on, everyone? It's Phil. It's Frankie. We're back to talk about Defilers because they are absolutely going to tear up the meta. Frankie and I both agree. We both run Death Guard. Frankie runs EC. We're going to talk a little bit about what Defilers is going to look like going forward because this unit might be one of the most impactful units that we've seen across multiple armies. Right, like you have the flavorful Death Guard one, you have the World Leaders one, T-Sons, Emperor's Children, and then you have the regular one for CSM, which yesterday y'all saw the video that we did with Johnny and Trey where we talked about all the ways that the new Defilers are going to impact their plethora of detachments. Frank, how are you doing, man? It's good to see you.
Good. You too, man. Been a while.
It's been a minute. Yeah, absolutely. Last time I think I saw you was when I came up for the last tournament for Green Banner.
Let's not talk about that.
Well, your savior has come in the shape of a bunch of crab claws and 4 legs and 160 millimeter base. So, Frank, tell me, especially as an EC player, where do you think that this new Defiler is going to fit in?
I think every EC build is going to want to, honestly. It makes such a massive difference in the army. It basically takes care of the two really big problems that EC has had, which are people disrespecting the shooting lanes because EC has no range shooting, and hull spam, which has consistently been a problem for EC players. The Defiler gives you an incredibly reliable strength 12 shooting platform that can sit in your back line, scuttle over terrain if you need to get into different lanes. It's fast. It's very shooty, very reliable, hitting on 2s and in coterie, which I think is still where most people will be playing them. You're going to be rerolling 1s on both sides, so you're hitting everything that's not hurt already, like really hurt already, on 2s, rerolling 1s, and you're wounding almost everything on 3s or better, rerolling 1s. It's insanely good. It's so efficient.
Yeah, it's
what EC needs. EC needs it like that. It just fixes both of those problems, which are both huge problems. So.
Yeah. Nope. It's something I've heard from every EC player is like, man, I wish I had Predators. Man, I wish I had some long range shooting. I wish I had some kind of a choice other than being forced into like Chaos Land Raiders, right? Because pretty much that's what you had for long range shooting prior to this point.
Which are okay, but they are not a 160 millimeter base, but they are 6 inches long and they're 5 inches across. So they're basically 160 millimeter base that cannot walk through walls, hard to maneuver around, hard to get those shooting angles, less shots, still pretty reliable with the las cannons, I guess. But like now you have your las cannons and your ectoplasm cannon and your excruciator cannons for 30 points more than the Land Raider. It's not even in the same discussion.
And I, as somebody who has plenty of friends that have run EC and they really enjoy it, I'm happy that you finally have a unit that you can use. Now, overall, a lot of people are going to ask questions about how do we want to use Emperor's Children Defilers, right? Because where do they fit in the meta? Are they a backline shooting piece? Are they something that we want to be able to put out on objectives and be like, hey, you're going to have to come deal with this big giant thing. And if you don't, I'm going to score primary. I have great Overwatch. I'm fantastic in combat, and obviously anything that I kill is just going to tick up those coterie points if that's the way we choose to run it. So where do you think, a unit like this, if you're running 2 of them or running 1 of them if you wanted to, where do you think a unit like this lands?
Sure. So I've got a few games in with them now, and mostly against armies that are pretty good at killing them. So I played against Thousand Suns, which obviously can kill vehicles very easily, and that the Defiler isn't really that tough with a 3-up, 5-up, T11, and 18 wounds. Thousand Suns can carve through that. And I played against Ultramarines, which obviously can do that as well with +1 to wound and rerolling all hits. I think for EC, most of the time their best is a backline shooting unit to cover the lanes. But in my game against Thousand Suns, I used 1 to steal my opponent's natural objective as well because they are OC5 and they are pretty fast. 12-inch move with advanced shoot and charge. So I used 1 to steal my opponent's natural as well. They can kill basically anything in melee. It's only 5 attacks, so against an invuln you might whiff, but for the most part they flip tanks over, they flip harder toughness targets over in general, which I don't know, they're good for depending on the matchup in multiple roles, but I really like them as a backline shooting unit because that's something EC doesn't have and is something that they're very good at. They're very efficient.
Yeah, I mean, the longer you can keep these things in the game, the better, right? We talked about, for those that haven't watched it yet, we talked about the CSM version and the new called to the Arcane detachment, and like, hey, if you're running their tech priest version with the enhancement, you potentially are getting 6 wounds back on an 18 wound model. That can be pretty obnoxious, and the longer you can keep them in the game, the better.
Right.
Obviously, you don't necessarily have those tools in Emperor's Children,
Well,
but you
kind of
don't
have a
necessarily.
similar tool. It's a detachment that nobody runs. The rapid evisceration, you can flip a damage to 0, which is kind of nice on them. I wouldn't run that detachment with. I mean, I would run them in any detachment in EC, but I think that they're still just way better in Coterie because of the efficiency of the shooting. But yeah, I mean, there's are options like that in EC for
Sure.
sure to make them
Yeah.
more durable. But their durability is not as good as you might think. 3 up, 5 up is nice. It's not 2 up, 4 up. It's not, it's good, but it's a lot of things carve through that. Like
Yeah. And they're
Repex,
only
be careful up against the Ultramarine players' Repexes because they can just. She had Ballistices and Repexes both, which a couple of those shooting at one will drop it. You're not going to live through that. Mm.
correct. Yeah.
It's because even with AOC and Coterie, you're still on your invuln almost all.
Absolutely. And to be fair, T11, like that means las cannons are wounding you on 3s. Vindies obviously are wounding on 3s. All the Repex shooting, with +1 to wound is probably wounding you on 2s, right? Like that
But
doesn't
you also
necessarily.
just murk them if they come out.
Yes.
That's the other thing I noticed when playing them. I did a few games with sort of what I think is going to be the standard build, and I've talked to a few other people, which is 2 Winged Demon Princes, 2 Lord Exultants, 2 units of Infractors, 2 units of Tormentors, 1 unit of Spawn, 2 Rhinos, 2 Defilers. And I think that's going to be sort of the standard build you see, which I think is very good. I ran a couple games with that. It was very good. But then I also tried getting rid of one of the Demon Princes and the Spawn and doing 3 units of Flawless Blades, 3 times 3. And they're much better when you have the Defilers because people don't want to push out a Rep-X to shoot 100 points, 100-point 3-man Flawless Blade unit, because if they do, they're just going to get blown up by a Defiler. And it's like almost guaranteed that the Defiler can kill it. It's so they don't want to make that trade, which makes the Flawless Blades a lot better. I noticed in the couple games I played with them, just being able to, people can't disrespect those lanes anymore now that you have the Defilers, which is really, really good for EC.
I mean, those one-dimensional armies have always struggled, right? We talk about it with EC when they first came out, and kind of where they were going to struggle in the meta. We've talked about it with World Eaters. Now, World Eaters are one of those armies that like hits on the edge because when Forge Fiends were the hotness and everyone was running 3 of them with the plasma, right? Like that was kind of the tool that they had to punish, and not necessarily great shooting length on those, but at least it was a shooting tool. Now they have kind of,
I mean, to be fair, they're having kind of a tough go, though.
they
They
are.
have not been doing well.
Correct. Yeah. And because of things like that, because if you put them in front of Necrons or you put them in front of like Ultramarines or some of these shooting combinations or Tau, they're just like, well, I'm going to screen you out. And then on top of that, I'm just going to shoot you off the board. And I never have to trade anything versus the things that you're giving
Yep.
me, which is tough. Yeah. Tough
Yeah.
position to be in. Okay. Absolutely fair. I love like 250 points. Is that appropriately costed for EC?
No,
You happy paying that?
no, they're
Okay.
gonna go up. They should go up. I honestly think they should go up. I mean, I guess the edition's pretty deadly at this point, and we'll see what happens in the next edition. So because you can drop them pretty easily, maybe these fair. It feels cheap to me right now, just because it made the army so much better. And I think that probably, as good as they are in CSM and Thousand Sons and Death Guard, I think they have had the most impact, or they will have the most impact on Emperor's Children, because it really changes the army in a way that I don't think it changes the other armies. They're very good in those other armies, but they don't, like in EC, they fundamentally make the entire army better in a way that I don't think they do in other armies. Maybe. I mean, they're fucking gross in CSM. The
They are
like
gross.
bound, it's just wrong. It's like it's wrong. But yeah, I mean, Abaddon sustained 5s, re-rolling everything near like get out of here with that shit. That's it's busted. So I do think they probably will go up a little bit. I think they should probably
Yeah.
too. So
Well, that's the problem. I'll get on a soapbox here real quick.
sure.
Because the Defiler is just a straight up data sheet, and it's like one of those things that, as a whole, I would much rather see them increase points across the different factions. So, like, if the CSM Defiler is obviously goes bonkers crazy, which I think I would agree. Like seeing it in Arcane, I'm like, that's a problem. Obviously,
Yeah.
pack bound, it's going to be a problem. But
Yeah.
like it's just good. It's one of those solid units that's going to be
Right.
on the board. You're going to have to plan for it. I'm already in all my armies. I'm like, I got to be able to deal with this thing because looking at some of these shooting profiles, like it's fantastic.
Yeah. I
So
think it should be cheaper. I mean, maybe 250 is appropriate in World Eaters. I don't think it's nearly as good in World Eaters as it is other places. It's still good. I think it's good everywhere, but it's not. Um, I don't think you're going to run them necessarily in World Eaters, or maybe you are, but I don't think it's. I think you'd rather just have a couple Forge Fiends, you know. But if you're going to have a shooting platform, but maybe that's just me. I just don't. I don't know that they. I do like the counter charge thing. I think it's really cool, but that big base, I don't know, it's going to come up that much. I think it's a cool idea and a cool concept that it hits on fours. You know, it gets the rapid fire like other world leaders stuff. Efficiency wise, a Forge Fiend is going to do a better job doing what the Defiler does for less points, I feel like. But
fair, fair. But let's move on to another faction that Frank
sure.
and I both play, which is Death Guard. Because this Defiler, obviously, each one's got a little bit of flavor. This one is very similar to what we've seen previously. Is after this model is shot until the end of the phase, it's like one enemy unit that's been hit by it, and they don't have the benefit of cover. We already know how stripping cover is going to
Yeah.
be good. You know, Lane and I talked about it. We have a prediction that in 11th edition, stripping cover is going to be even more important because if we talk about
-1 to hit.
correct, exactly. What -1 to hit is going to do to some armies is like,
Yeah.
well, if you don't have stripping cover, you know, your
Yeah.
efficiency goes way down, way down. But off the bat, we're seeing the traditional Death Guard data sheet, which is lethal hits across the board. Everything has it. Obviously, strip cover. Obviously, you have the aura, which means that like my strikes go to AP4 if I take the -1 contagion. That's kind of
Yeah.
gross. All of my big shooting is pretty much AP2 minimum, going to AP3 and AP4, also gross. And like we said,
Yeah.
that is a massive base. So my contagion aura is going to go
Yeah.
really far.
Yeah. I think this is probably the second most impactful one. I don't know if it's the second best, but I think based on the army, it's the second most impactful after EC because it's another thing that sometimes Death Guard can struggle against is hull spam. It can be a problem for Death Guard sometimes. You know, they don't have a lot of high strength shooting. You have your bloat drones or whatever that are strength 10, but that's about as high as it gets in most builds, right?
Yeah,
Like unless you're taking Morty, but even I mean, that's one model, right? Like
correct.
there's not they struggle with some anti-tanks sometimes, and this is a very good answer for that. So
I like it a lot. I like
yeah,
contagion
it's
auras. I
really good.
like being able to spread that stuff out. Like it's very good. And I think obviously the first attachment that comes to mind, if I'm gonna run two of these, is Mortarian's Hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mortarian's Hammer
just
is like
absolutely gross. Filthy. Yeah.
it can already move through walls. That's not what you're paying it for.
Nope.
You're paying for all the other detachment benefits for as it is a
I mean,
vehicle.
just plop a contagion on something and you're shooting it with -4, ignore cover, last cannons. Disgusting.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
absolutely foul.
I just I like it. I'd run two of them in Death Guard. I'd run them in Mortarian's Hammer. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked to see that like the second these become
No,
legal,
I totally agree. They're
which
they're
is
great.
kind of terrifying because I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm tempted to go back to Death Guard if I'm honest. Like I'm like,
It changes the army for sure. That's what I'm saying about impactful as opposed to good. I think probably on paper, the Thousand Sons one is probably the best one, but I don't know that it's that impactful. It doesn't really change the way that that army plays necessarily. The way that it changes EC and it changes Death Guard.
yeah. No, I think that's absolutely fair. And I think it's just really interesting. Obviously, you have a ballistic skill of 3 up across the board, and the next one we're
Right.
going to look at, which is
Well,
the
unless you're Emperor's Children, you sort of have a ballistic skill of 3 in Emperor's Children. You're hitting on 2s almost all the
yeah,
time.
pretty much, which is fantastic. Which
Yeah, it's
I
amazing.
like. I wanted to see flavor out of these. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. I would hate to see like across the board. This is just what the Defiler is, and everyone gets to pick it. No, they
Yep.
took some time and effort and actually got some customized Defilers with the
No, I love it.
with the nice heads and stuff like that. GW deserves their praise for this one. I think
Yeah,
they
it
nailed
came
it.
after the Year of Chaos, but we can give them credit for it anyway.
I'm convinced this is actually the year of
Yeah,
chaos.
now it is,
2025
right?
was not. 2026 is.
Yeah,
There's
totally
no
agree.
doubt in my mind now.
Yeah.
They're just giving y'all everything.
I I mean, honestly, this is the happiest I've been about a change to one of my or two of my armies in a long time. So
Yeah. I mean, you're not happy with the new Lash Whip upgrade on the Turned Prime?
I mean, thank God they dropped it to 65 points. I cannot believe it's functional now. I think you can actually take the Flash Whip Prime now. You could
Sure.
not at 85 when it didn't have the extra attacks. Nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. I think it's actually good, but I don't know what role it fills for Tyranids necessarily.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that in a different video if you want.
Well, we'll move on to the World Leaders one, because once
Sure.
again, Frank already alluded to it. It has at the end of your opponent's charge movement phase, you can select one unit that was set up on the battlefield within 12 of this model. This model can then either shoot at that unit, but only if it's an eligible target, which is very interesting because obviously, the World Leaders one is 4 up base for ballistic skill, but everything's rapid fire. Everything's gonna, you have multiple ways to ignore cover. You have obviously your flamer on there as well. You have the tools. This isn't just a 12-inch no deep strike denial. This is, you get within 12, I'm gonna hurt you.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the only one I think you run with the flamer on it out of all of them. This one you put the flamer on. Honestly, I love the countercharge aspect of that rule a lot. I really like it, but I think it's not actually going to come up that much just because of the size of the base. And I mean, I love the idea of somebody thinking they can get out of a rhino to charge it, and you're just like, yeah, fuck you, and you charge into it. But it's just with the size of the base, it's not going to come up that much. With terrain and the size of the base, it's going to be very hard to charge things that disembark out of a rhino to charge you. And then shooting wise, I mean, that's also really cool. But I just don't know if it's going to do that much actual damage when it does that. But
Yeah, with
there's a
only
big difference between hitting on 4s and 3s or
yeah.
2s,
Yeah. No, it's definitely going to struggle in that aspect. I wish that this could take double Bale Flamer. If this could take double Bale Flamer, I would
Cool.
feel a lot better about it.
I don't wish that at all. That sounds horrible. I run mostly melee armies. That sounds god awful.
That would make that rule of shooting, I think, feel a little bit more consistent.
Then you basically have a Land Raider Redeemer in Overwatch,
Correct.
which is a nightmare for a lot of armies. So.
Correct, because 7/2/2 D6 plus 3 shots. Imagine 2 D6 plus 6 shots. Come on.
I don't need to imagine it because I played against it. I played against the Black Templars list with 2 Land Raider Redeemers at a GT earlier in the edition, and I did win, but it was I had to play the cagiest game I think I've ever played in my entire life because I couldn't charge anything because I just couldn't come out of anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. The charge rule is interesting. Obviously, right off the bat, strength 16, -3, D6 plus 1, hitting on 6s. You are 3-up weapon skill, which is nice. Yeah, I don't
think World Leaders will be running them. I think maybe people will try them out for a while, and then I think they'll realize that they have cheaper options that do a better job of what this does. I do think it's super cool.
Because,
I think it's super cool, but I mean, that melee with lethal and sustained and 6-inch pylon on that guy too is so cool, but that size of that base is just going to stuff all of that so often. It's just not a melee. It's just not really a melee platform just because of the base size.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Good players will be able to screen you off doing the things that you actually want to do.
Yep.
Okay. Well, the last one, because we already went over the CSM one with Trey and Johnny. The last one is the Thousand Suns Defiler. Once again, I think if we talk about the top 3 that are going to make an impact on the meta, I think this is in the top 3. World Leaders 1, please prove me wrong, World Leaders players. I would love to see this thing be efficient. I want it to be a good tool that you can use, and I think it will be. I just don't think it's at the standout of what the other detachments and armies are seeing with them. So, right now, each time you target this unit with the Fire Overwatch, hits are scored on 5s. And then
each of those, to be fair, most of the
and then for each of these attacks that target an enemy unit within 9 of 1 or more Thousand Sun Psyker, this is the important part, hit is scored on an unmodified hit roll of 4-up. That's terrifying.
Right. And as in the vehicle detachment, you reroll if you're near a Psyker, you reroll a hit, wound, and damage as well. So it's disgusting. I think this is probably the best one on paper. I think it's probably less of an impact to the army than the EC or the Death Guard one is, but it's incredibly good. Thousand Suns doesn't need these because they're already so deadly in shooting, but it's not going to hurt them to take one either because these are so good. But I don't think it fundamentally changes your Thousand Suns army, even though it's fucking gross. This, I don't want to run it. I don't want to run a unit of infractors anywhere near this thing because it just shoots the entire unit to death in Overwatch. So I have to figure out how to get my melee units into other shit and be more than 24 inches away from this. That sucks. That's going
Eh,
to be a problem.
yeah. And I think overall it's going to be really interesting in terms of how Thousand Sons players play, because we saw what they did with the Mutated Vortex Beast, right? That
Oh
was
yeah.
a huge part, and they had no problems with it. And because
Yep.
they're running these little 5 minutes that don't want, like, this is
Yeah.
an important part. They don't want combat nearly as much as world leaders do,
Yep.
so they don't necessarily need that piece that world leaders definitely does to function. It's like they have to have it, and if they don't, they're going to be in a position where they're not going to be able to be effective.
I think, I mean, Thousand Suns, you've got your like Predator Annihilators that are already crazy efficient, rerolling hits and things like that. And, the Forge Fiends, sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't, but they're also like 130 points and an amazing shooting platform with your rituals, right? Like you can make them reroll hits, so you can.
Yeah.
I don't know that Thousand Suns need these. I do think that they're awesome, and I think that their data sheet is absolutely amazing. But like this or two Forge Fiends, I don't know. It's in that army most of the time. I don't know that you take this over two Forge Fiends or a couple of Predator, more than two Predator Annihilators plus, right? Aren't
Yeah.
they? How much are they? Are they 125, 130? What are the Predator Annihilators? I don't know. But it's around the same price for two Predator Annihilators and a Defiler. And I don't know if you're going to see them necessarily. I don't think they need them.
I mean, you're right, but then I look at like
Yeah.
the
I mean, the
attachment
data sheet,
rule.
it's not going to hurt you to take them either. That's the thing. That's
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
you're going to take them because
okay,
it's
so I
fun,
can give them
not because you need them.
correct. It's like I can give them full rerolls to hit.
Yeah.
Well, that
No.
sounds pretty
Yeah.
good.
And extra AP, and they already have extra AP.
Correct.
So their guns already have better AP than the other Defilers, and then you give them an extra 2 AP on top of that. Why not? They're just coming up with like comical numbers. Like,
Correct. I'm like, that's got to be
yeah,
good, right? Like, there's
yeah.
no way it
No,
can't
it's very
not
good.
be good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Like I said, I think it's the best of the data sheets, of the
Yeah.
Defiler data sheets. It's the best one, but they don't need it the way that EC or Death Guard needs it.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Yeah, because like in the Warpfire infusion
Yeah,
for the Warpforged Cabal, like you said, hit roll, wound roll, damage roll,
yeah,
which is fantastic for some of those
right.
big shots. Gives you that much more
Plus one to
efficiency.
wound. Let's not forget that one. Plus one to wound on this thing in that detachment. It's fucked up. Yeah, it's gross. So you're re-rolling all hits, extra AP, and plus one to wound if you feel like it. Nope. I mean, that just murders anything. I do think it's the best of the data sheets, without question.
Yeah, and then you also have AOC, so you do have a defensive
Right.
buff for them, which is
Yeah.
kind of nice. You do have the defensive tank shock, which is kind of cute, right? Like, not necessarily great, but is what it
Doesn't
is.
hurt.
You have fallback shoot and charge with them, which
Mhm.
means they're never getting tied up, which is a huge
Nope.
part of the game that I really like. Like,
Well,
you have that tool.
you have to remember the base is over 6 inches.
Correct.
6.3 inches. So the fallback is not, I mean, I think against a lot of good players, I noticed it in EC. Fallback and shoot is not always going to happen when you want it to happen
Sure.
because the base is so big.
Sure. Yeah, but you got sticky objectives in that
No,
detachment too.
that detachment is already very good. I'm surprised more people aren't running it in general. You see it every once in a while. Yeah, these guys in the vehicle detachment are real good.
Okay. Well, the reason we did this video, for those out there that are wondering, is like, obviously Defilers are good. Obviously, they're a huge part of the meta, and they're gonna be. And it's good to see kind of where they're gonna interact. So, Frankie, if you had to rate what is the best Defiler out of the 5, we'll say the CSM and the 4 gods, which Defiler is the best Defiler? As in, it's gonna have the
Sure.
most amount of impact.
Yeah, EC for sure. I mean, it fundamentally changes the army in a way that none of the other ones do. Honestly, I love EC and I've done very well with them. I've that speed and mobility really gives you a lot of options. You just run into some matchups that are a nightmare, like
Sure.
hull spam, stuff that just shoots you off the table before you can get near it. The Defiler in EC fundamentally changes the army, it makes the problems EC had really go away. And I've noticed that in the 3 games I've had, it's amazing. It's so efficient. It's hitting on 2s, and after turn 1, it's re-rolling 1s in Coterie. It just doesn't miss with anything. It's very good at killing vehicles. It's very good at killing chaff. If you want to charge it into things, you can. If you want to leave it on the back line and just shoot anything that comes out to death and then punch to death anything that has the balls to charge you, it can do that. Like,
Yeah.
the thing is real good.
Think about like my Deathwatch matchup into it because I really like my Deathwatch into EC
Oh yeah.
previous because like
Yeah.
I could draw lines of sight, I could
Yeah.
pre-measure everything. Like you're never going to get into me, and I really enjoyed that. I feel less confident about that matchup
Sure.
because those Defiler bricks are going to poke out and they're just going to pick up a half or a third of an Indomitor brick, and now
Oh
I'm
yeah.
suddenly like 75% less effective. And if I've lost my
Yeah.
special weapons, I'm never killing that thing.
Well, the thing we didn't talk about too, that I should have mentioned because I got to see it firsthand, was like those Scarab Occult Terminators
Yeah,
or Vitrix with their -1 to wound. In Coterie, I can just turn that off. I can turn off -1 to hit. I can turn off -1 to wound for 1 CP. And then those Defilers into, you should have seen what they did to the Scarab Occult Terminator bricks. Without -1 to hit and without -1 to wound, it just eats them like from 36 inches away. Like they just, people I think are used to putting them out, like marching them forward, teleport them in, have them shoot something, and then move towards stuff because they're very good at that. But like my Defiler behind layout 1, advance, walk over the wall when those guys come out and just shoot half that unit to death on average dice
yeah.
is bonkers.
It's what EC needed.
Oh yeah.
I would agree with you. Unfortunately, I've been drinking the CSM Kool-Aid of
It's,
seeing the seeing what
I mean, that's
they're gonna.
fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
like I want to say Death Guard. It's not Death Guard. Like Death Guard's
No.
gonna be good, and Mortarion
Yeah.
Hammer is gonna love it. And honestly, I would probably run one of them in any of the detachments because it's just a 6-inch aura with obnoxious guns, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
a problem for a lot of
Yeah.
armies. You might run 2 in Mortarion's Hammer. I wouldn't be upset with that. But like seeing Packbound Zealots and what 2 of those are gonna do makes me anxious to the extreme of like,
It's gross.
man, are they going to just top the meta now? Are we going to see CSM in S tier just because of this unit?
Crit 5s and re-rolling all hits should not be a thing. That's anywhere for any army. And it is for them. And they
Yeah.
have a lot of guns and a lot of shots. And as someone who's run into those excruciators on Venom Crawlers when they're re-rolling plenty of times, oh, it's only AP1, whatever. If you don't have a 2-up save and AOC, like that gun alone just annihilates any Marine equivalent. Just
Yeah.
so good. Yeah.
It's terrifying. But then also Arcfane, like, I don't know if you've watched the video we did with Trey yet.
I did. I watched it. That was fun. I love watching John lose because he kicks my ass all the time. So
That new Arcfane detachment is out of this world insane. Like
yeah.
the amount of damage it's going to put out, it's going to rip down Catans. Like I think any
Yeah.
player running that is begging for the Necron matchup because they're like, I have full rerolls to wound into you. I have this great data sheet that's just going to shoot you, charge you, and kill you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's very fair. My next choice after EC would be CSM. CSM already had really good shooting though, if
That's true.
I wanted. So I just don't think it like, I mean, it is insanely good. Don't get me wrong. It just doesn't like entirely change the army the way
Sure.
that the EC one does for me though.
Yeah, totally get that. Well, you are an EC fanatic, and obviously you love your EC, and I'm glad they've gotten a glow up. Maybe now they can finally drag themselves out of what is the bottom tier, and I think they will. Obviously, with this,
They're A tier now. Honestly, after a few games with it, they're an A tier army. I think they were already very good.
Yeah.
They just had a couple of big problems that prevent them from winning a lot of tournaments. I think you're going to see that change. Just those problems are gone with the Defiler, which is cool.
Love it. I love more competitive armies that can vie for those top spots that people have to plan for because it means the game's more balanced. So,
Yeah.
for those EC players at home, I hope you're excited. Death Guard players, T-Suns players, you should be absolutely ecstatic that you have this fantastic unit that you can find the tools for. And honestly, it's going to look pretty cool in your army, I think, like with all the customization that you can do. World Leaders players, you can still be excited. This is still a good unit for you. You are actually, unfortunately, have to do the most amount of work, we believe, to find the ways to make this unit work, right? Because it does have tools like 6-inch pile and consolidate and like sustained and lethal and all these things that are great to have.
Yeah,
But you're
dude,
going to
like
have to work a
Electro
little bit harder
Scourge
for it.
and the Flamer.
Yes.
Electro Scourge and the Flamer on it. That's fucking horrifying.
Correct.
If you can get it around where you need to get it around, but if you
better
can,
know your layouts. You better know
that's
which
gonna
layouts you're
kill-
playing on because
that's
it
gonna kill
definitely
anything.
matters.
I mean, that's gonna murder anything, right? Like
Yeah.
the claws and the Electro Scourge and the Flamer, like that will kill anything. if you can
Correct.
get it, if you can fit it in there.
And then CSM players, you are not allowed to complain anymore. You are now in a great spot. You've gotten 4 detachments in the span of like 2 months. You've gotten brand new units. You are spoiled for choice now. So you better be prepared to get to those top tables because the Defiler will take you there. The Defiler will take you there. Frank, any last thoughts?
No, man, very, very happy very happy for my favorite army this edition. So
Good.
Give my Tyranids some love at some point, hopefully, but we'll see. I think that's the most disappointed I've been when they're like, "Yeah, keeping all your same detachments." I'm like, "Oh, I guess my Tyranids are still sitting on the shelf." I'm not Matt Evans. I can't make the boring ass cleanse and engage work the way that he can. But hopefully they'll get some love in a way.
Yeah. You have one competitive army. That's enough, and it's your favorite army in the edition. So totally
Yep.
makes sense to me. For those at home, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, shoot us a comment, hit us up in the Discord. We always like talking about 40K. And do not forget, victory isn't given. It's forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted.